Good morning, everybody. Aloha. I'm Deborah Berger, Chair of the Board of the Hawaii Community Foundation. On behalf of our Board of Governors, I would like to welcome you to the Advancing Nonprofit Excellence Conference. First, it's my duty to acknowledge a few special guests here today. HCF Board of Governor member and Chair of HCF's Maui Leadership Council, Tamar Choatson-Goodfellow, HCF Board of Governor and Hawaii Island Leadership Council member Roberta Chu, HCF Kauai Leadership Council member Paul Horner, HCF Hawaii Leadership Council member Laura Mallory Sayer, and HCF Hawaii Leadership Council member Dale Suizaki. Also joining us today are honored guests United States Representative Colleen Hanabusa, Senate President Ron D. Kochi, House Speaker Scott K. Saiki, and United States Senator Brian Schatz, who will be joining us later this afternoon at our reception. The Foundation started this conference so nonprofit organizations could engage in dialogue and receive access to local and national resources so that they're better equipped with the tools they need and the skills that will help them become more effective and high-performing. At today's conference, you'll have the opportunity to hear from national experts, community leaders, and colleagues on how nonprofit organizations can better work together and advocate not only for their individual missions, but perhaps more importantly, for the nonprofit sector as a whole, so that Hawaii can be positioned to thrive, especially in these uncertain times. So thank you for taking the time to be here today. I encourage you to get to know one another, ask questions, and share ideas with each other. Please also continue the conversation and share quotes from speakers or interesting themes you've heard on social media using the hashtag #ANEHawaii. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Hawaii Community Foundation's CEO and President, Micah Kāne. Mahalo.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Debbie. We're very fortunate to have Debbie at the top of our governance leadership. It's somebody like her who has just approximate perspective on the issues we're facing as a sector is very helpful. And so, Debbie, thank you for your commitment to our community and to Hawaii. I want to welcome you folks. Thank you for being here, and thank you for giving me a few minutes just to kind of set the context for today's conference. You know, the content of the conference came fairly quickly to us. It's anchored basically in three buckets, and the first being the most fundamental, and Debbie mentioned it in her comments. There's an acceptance that the landscape that we're going to be functioning, the community we're going to be functioning is going to be different in the next decade. And if we accept that, the way we're going to have to communicate also will need to change. How we communicate internally, how we communicate externally. And if we believe that, we need to accept that the capacity of our sector will need to change as well. We're going to need to pivot, to adjust, to be able to communicate in this new landscape that we're in. So going back to the top with the change that's occurring in our community. The national policies that we've all been hearing about are not just cuts in funding, but they're fundamental structural changes that will have to force us to pivot. And it was also clear that while organizations like HCF is going to have to step up and do more, we cannot fill that gap. And nor can philanthropy across the state or the country. And while these unknowns may seem overwhelming at times, and it may seem depressing, we instead want to see this as an opportunity. And we hope that you come here with that perspective. So again, if the community is changing and we accept that we need to change the way we communicate in that community, we hope today is an opportunity for us to harness that new voice, that voice of advocacy. And many times in the nonprofit community, we shy away from having an advocacy voice, especially in the legislative arena. And we want to bring comfort to you in that space. So one of the primary goals today is to bring comfort for you to be in that space and to advocate in that space, not only as a voice for your organization or for our sector, But we'd like you to step back and include our elected body as a part of that voice. And that's when we can do great things together. And then finally, if we agree that, again, the landscape is changing, the way in which we're going to communicate is changing, what are the different kind of capacities that we need to build in order to be more effective in the next decade? You're going to hear a lot a little bit later and throughout the day from Nick, who's going to be following up a little bit right after me, about the launching of a new policy center, which is a partnership with an organization out of Washington, D.C., along with Appleseed. We're very excited about this new tool, and it's going to provide us the facts and the information we need as a sector to make important recommendations with our legislative body and how we're going to be able to serve the communities that we are the most passionate about and that are probably the most in jeopardy today based on some of the changes we're facing. So again, we want you to see today as an opportunity to do great things in the future. You know, cities across the continental United States have the ability to lean out on each other. San Diego can lean out on LA. Oakland can lean out on San Francisco. Seattle can lean out on Portland. Hawaii can't lean out. We fall in the water. So we gotta lean in, gang. And you know, we are the world's biggest village, and that's an asset to us. And I would encourage us to think about ways that we can be an exporter of great things rather than just the receiver of great things. Before I bring Nick Johnson up for his part of the morning, I want to recognize some very important people who have made this day possible, and many of them you're very familiar with. I want to first recognize our Vice President of Knowledge, Education, and Learning, who's really spearheaded this conference, Mr. Tom Kelly. Tom, can you stand, please? Also want to recognize our Senior Director of Communication, Linnell Marble. Linnell, where are you? Put a hand for Linnell in the back there. And finally, she's kind of like the American Express. If you need anything, you need to find this lady, and her name is Chips DeMate. Where's Chips? Thank you for your work, Chips. She's probably behind here somewhere. So again, our goals for today, first and foremost, is to recognize we're operating in a different landscape and to accept that and deal with that and embrace that. Secondly is to find comfort in our advocacy voice, not just within our organization or in our sector, but as a community that includes our elected bodies going forward. And third, it's a recognition that we have to pivot on our capacity and the tools that we will need to harness in order to be effective there. And we hope that we will launch those three things today.